What do you do as a high-ticket dropshipper when your payment processor puts a hold on your account? Well, let's talk about it. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you are new, subscribe for daily high-ticket dropshipping content. My name is Joe Verschoor. I come with half a decade of high-ticket dropshipping experience, managing my own businesses and consulting for other businesses. If you are serious about building a high-ticket dropshipping business, and you need guidance, maybe you're seeking out different online courses right now, I have my own program linked in the description below. Today is the 21st of January as I'm recording this, and I will be releasing the second version of the course for 2025 and beyond in about 9 days from now. But if you get in right now at the current price at the time that this is basically being released, you'll be grandfathered in. So there's just a few more days to get this because the price will go up with the new program. But that said, let's talk about what to do in the event that your payment processor, in other words, Shopify or PayPal or Stripe, decides to place a hold on your account due to, it can be for various reasons that they tell you. It can be for new account reviews, it can be for suspicious activity or unusual activity, or a high-risk transaction. It can be for any one of these things. And out of the blue, the payment processor will decide your money, your revenue, is better placed in their hands than your own. And this is something that time and time again has driven me up a freaking wall because a lot of the time, most of the time, it happens with totally legitimate transactions. So I don't have a lot of experience with Stripe in this regard. I've never actually used Stripe for my high-ticket dropshipping stores. I've only ever used Shopify payments and PayPal and things like Apple Pay, Amazon Pay, Google Pay, and Shop Pay, powered by Affirm. So I'll speak briefly about my experience with Shopify. What are your options? What can you do to avoid this in the first place? And unfortunately, let's say your settings in Shopify are set to accept payments automatically, process payments automatically, or capture payments automatically when somebody places an order on your high-ticket dropshipping store. And Shopify decides this is a high-risk order and they're going to hold the funds. When I first had to deal with it, it was for 90 days that they held the funds for this. And now I believe, depending on the situation, it's up to 120 days, which is basically 4 months, a third of a year, where they will hold on to the dollar amount from this transaction, from somebody buying from you. The unfortunate thing is once that happens, your options are extremely limited as far as getting those funds, because the short answer is you can't get those funds until they decide to release them to you. You can yell at their support team, you can message back and forth all that you want, but at the end of the day, they're not going to budge. This happens to them all the time, and unfortunately their algorithm, as much as I love the Shopify platform, really sucks when it comes to this, because there's really nothing you can do once they decide that they need to hold your funds. So in the meantime, what do? How do you fulfill the order? Let's assume that it was a legitimate order. A legitimate customer ordered this thing, and unfortunately, you can't even refund the customer because they're holding on to the funds. Because the ideal case is you could just send the funds back to the customer and maybe ask for an alternative form of payment. Assuming that is out the window because Shopify is now holding onto your funds, you have to fulfill the order somehow. Or, you can somehow convince the customer to wait 120 days to receive their product. And unfortunately, that's just a cost that you're going to have to eat in the meantime. If you're basically 100% sure that this is a legitimate customer, that it's not going to result in a chargeback from fraudulent activity from a stolen credit card, you've talked with the customer over the phone, you've verified all of their information, you've done your research on the customer, and you want to fulfill the order so you can keep them happy and they can get what they paid for, because again, you don't have a way to refund them in the meantime. Well, that's just a cost that in the meantime you're going to have to eat up front, but obviously it's going to just be a very delayed profit from that order at 120 days later once those funds actually enter your bank account. So at the end of the year when you're doing your taxes, that business expense is going to look no different had you uh, fulfilled that order, had you not had this problem, versus, having to wait 120 days to get those funds and still paying that expense. At the end of the day, when you're at the end of the year, when you're totaling up your taxes, your profit and loss, your expenses and revenue, it's going to look the same on paper. So if you can find any comfort in that piece of it, that's just something to keep in mind. But then it totally depends on, and I don't want to get down a rabbit hole with different accounting practices here. It depends on if you're measuring on a cash basis or on an accrual basis. I think the most useful way to do your accounting is on an accrual basis, which basically means you're not just waiting for cash to leave and exit or leave and enter your bank account. You're actually, once an order is placed, you're basically calculating the net profit in real time from that order. So at the end of the month, you're not looking at cash that's left or cash that's come in. You're looking at it on an actual net profit per order basis, if that makes sense. So anyway, if assuming you're measuring your profit and loss on an accrual basis, at the end of the year, if Shopify holds on to funds for an order that you have to kind of eat the cost for in the meantime, that profit and loss is still going to look the same at the end of that calendar year. So how do you eat the cost? Well, at this point, you kind of have two options. Either you do it with cash, and ideally at this point, you're not at a point where you're brand new and you don't have the funds in your bank account to front this, or you have a line of credit with your supplier, which is really uncommon in the high ticket dropshipping space. You might have a long history with your supplier where you've developed a relationship with them and you can tell them the situation, because they deal with their own payment processors. They'll get it, and they might be willing to give you some lenience on hey, you've done a lot of business for us, we get it, and as a show of good faith, we'll let you not have to pay this invoice for X amount of time, just as an example. Or if you have a business credit card, you can use your business credit card to front the expense for that. But then you obviously run into the risk of, well, if you don't have the funds to pay off the card, that becomes a really slippery slope really quickly if you start living off of only your business credit card running your business. But obviously the advantage it provides is you can pay up front and then pay the credit card balance over time. So just kind of talking through options, it's okay, if the only option is to fulfill the order at this point, the only way forward is to actually pay to fulfill this order. What's the best way to go about it? And that's just going to be a case-by-case situation. So that's my 2 cents on Shopify specifically. I've only dealt with that once on a single order. And unfortunately, it was pretty early on when I was getting started as a Shopify business. And so I think it was like a $2,500 order. It was like my second order ever above $2,000. And I can't remember if it was specifically that order, the order itself that caused Shopify to be hey, what's going on here? Or if it was just the unusual amount of large orders coming in, or all the above. Before I move on to PayPal, one thing I'll say is how you avoid this on the front end potentially is switching your payment capture settings in Shopify from automatic to manual, which means if someone places an order on your online store and they use a credit card and you see the order come through, but you haven't captured the payment yet, that gives you time to look over the order, and it gives you time to do your analysis, your risk analysis of, does everything line up here? Does anything stand out as sketchy here? Maybe look at the name, the billing, how it all lines up, as far as billing address, shipping address, where was the IP location, in relation to where this is actually being shipped to. all that kind of stuff. If you do manual payment capture, you're not going to automatically capture the payment from that customer. Whereas if you have automatic, it captures it automatically, and then that's when Shopify out of nowhere will just be like, hey, we got to hold on to this order, it's high risk. So that's just one way on the front end where you can, potentially avoid this entirely. And so, if you do have manual payment capture and you haven't captured a payment and the order looks really sketchy to you, at that point, it's kind of a judgment call of whether or not you capture the payment and fulfill the order. If something looks sketchy, and take it from me, it really sucks if, you're willing to kind of turn a blind eye just for the sake of getting revenue in the short term versus the long term, because then we get into chargebacks down the road, and that's really sucks, because a Shopify hold is different from a chargeback in that you're not really losing money. You kind of have delayed access to the money, very delayed, months we're talking here. Whereas a chargeback, it's like your money's just gone and there's not a dang thing you can do about it. So the point being, look over the order and evaluate whether or not you should refund the customer and ask for a different form of payment or fulfill it, etc. So that's Shopify. PayPal is a whole different beast, okay? So I get the question a lot, should I offer PayPal on my website as a payment option? And I reluctantly say yes. I'll say it's up to you, but I reluctantly do so because PayPal is just such a common platform that people use to pay for things. And so I don't want to lose out on a high-paying customer just because I wasn't willing to offer PayPal on my store. That said, I can't tell you how many times I've screamed at whatever poor PayPal employee I got on the phone because tens of thousands of dollars were being on hold in my PayPal seller account because it was exceeding the monthly withdrawal limit. So as a PayPal seller, when you connect your PayPal seller account to your Shopify to accept PayPal payments on your online store, if you're new, you're going to have a very low monthly withdrawal limit, okay? And I don't know what the exact amount is at first, like let's say literally right off the bat, I don't know what that amount is. I want to say it's like $3,000 or $5,000 maybe, if that. And so the thing is, it's like if you could have just one order, period, like a $10,000 order, $15,000 order. This is exactly what happened to me. Literally in my third month of doing high ticket dropshipping, I got a $15,000 order paid with on PayPal, and PayPal held these funds because I was a new seller and it exceeded the monthly limit. And in order to get access to the money in PayPal, luckily, it's not like this set period of time, like 120 days like Shopify. What you have to provide is fulfillment proof of fulfillment. So a tracking number showing that the product for this order was in fact delivered to the customer. And at that point, they will release the funds. But the problem was, my margins were 35% on this, 33% on this. So my cost to the supplier was like $10,000. And luckily, the supplier of this particular order, family-run business, the kindest people you will ever meet, I reached out to their owner and I said, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. I know I'm new with you guys, but I can't feasibly pay to fulfill this order right now. And the problem is I can't actually get the money to pay you in full for it until I provide proof of fulfillment. So it's kind of this catch-22 where it's like, I need to provide proof of fulfillment, but the very thing that I need in order to fulfill the order is being held by PayPal. I can't tell you how many times, like I said, I've screamed and screamed at these poor PayPal employees that get me on the phone about this. So luckily in that particular situation, my supplier allowed me to just split up the invoice into like 3 payments, and they were fine with just shipping the order. They knew that I already had like a short order history from them, and they were really flexible working with me. And so at that point, once I provided the proof, I got the funds into my account. So let's go to like a year later where I'm doing six-figure months, 100,000 up to upwards of almost $300,000. Well, a good percentage of that is PayPal transactions. And luckily, like over the course of time, PayPal will marginally increase your monthly withdrawal limit. But the problem is they don't do it quickly enough to account for a scaling business. And so there was a point where I ended up with like $26,000 just on hold in my PayPal account from orders that I needed to fulfill. And so I reached a point where the only way that I was able to even do it, other than just like funds left in my bank account, was with my business credit card. And I mean, I guess let me back up, because with any supplier I've ever had, unless they have like massive credit card fees, I always give them my business credit card so I can use those transactions to build up an enormous amount of travel points or cashback points. I use Chase Business Inc. Preferred as my card, and it's excellent. So that's how I was paying for all these orders. But in the meantime, it's like this massive credit card balance is building up and not going down because I don't have access to 26,000 freaking dollars that's just sitting in PayPal, because PayPal does what PayPal does. So that said, when it comes to PayPal, proceed with caution. Like, know that if you have anything above your monthly withdrawal limit, and a quick note on that is you can request an increase in your monthly withdrawal limit like once a month. Everything that they do there is so archaic and so maddening. But unfortunately, like I said, it is a really common payment provider that a lot of people use to pay for things. So coming down to it, should you use PayPal? I think so, but just proceed with caution, because it is almost inevitable that if your business starts to take off and the activity in your PayPal account starts to increase quickly, you're going to end up with some payments on hold in there, and you have to provide proof of fulfillment to the platform. So that's my 2 cents on, like, that's my literal experience with when payment processors put a hold on your account. Your options are extremely limited, and you're just kind of at the mercy of whatever their policies are. So if you have more questions about this, if I left anything out, please let me know in the comments, and I can make another video about this very topic. And on that topic, if there's anything in general about high-ticket dropshipping you guys want me to talk about in a future video, let me know in the comments. You guys have been awesome just suggesting stuff. It makes my life way easier when I'm uploading a video every single day. And one last thing, if you are serious about building a high-ticket dropshipping business, I recommend checking out my program. Link is in the description below. We'll see you guys tomorrow.